No one is coming to save you. You have to be the one to make the decision yourself. Our mind is going to believe what we tell it. And I think it's so important to start to question, like, is what you're telling yourself true? Is it even
Mhm, mhm,
factual? Women truly go and carry and grow and birth and keep alive an entire human, and
mhm.
we will still step back and feel like we're not enough. And
Yeah.
how is that possible when you genuinely look at everything that we do? We are absolutely so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah. Good day, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Break the Cycles podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cherie, and this is a space where we talk about breaking cycles and breaking generational patterns and rebuilding the woman behind all the titles. Hey, soul sister. Before we dive in, make sure you followed and subscribed to this podcast so you never miss the next drop of healing energy. And I want to hear from you. Leave a comment or some feedback. Let me know what's been resonating with you and what topics you want me to cover in future episodes. Your voice helps me shape this space for our community. Also, if something in this episode speaks to your spirit, share it with a friend, a sister, or anyone who's walking their own healing journey. Because together, we're not just healing, we're evolving, expanding, and reclaiming our power. Now, let's get into today's episode. So, today I get to bring on the show Allison, and she is a mother of three who helps other moms step into the best version of themselves, both physically and mentally, through realistic fitness, balanced nutrition, and supportive mindset shifts. She helps women build a lifestyle they love without adding more stress to motherhood. Her mission is to help moms move out of survival mode, recognize their strength, and show up fully for themselves and their families. So, thank you for saying yes, Allison. Welcome to Break the Cycles.
Thank you for having me.
Allison, what inspired you to focus on helping women shift their relationship with health beyond just weight loss? Because for a lot of us, that's our focus when it shouldn't always be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't a point in my life where weight loss was my focus as well. Back before I even had kids, if I really think back even to middle school and high school, gosh, it seemed like body image was always such a huge focus. And I can still remember looking back and hearing comments from girls being in a middle school locker room just about, oh, this person's so skinny and this person's not, and whatever. And so it is just so scary how early it starts. That kind of snowballed into how I lived my life and how I viewed nutrition, how I viewed physical activity. And I always loved being physically active. I was in tons of sports in middle school and high school, and I didn't do it for a weight loss purpose. I loved it, but I can still remember looking back and thinking, gosh, I am doing so much exercise. I feel like I barely eat compared to what I see my friends eating. Why don't I look like them? And I can remember really struggling with those body image issues. Flash forward through college and going through all of the roller coasters that college had to offer, and finally graduating and feeling like my hormones leveled out finally. I felt like I really cracked the code to how to fuel my body and still enjoy my life and move my body in a way that felt good and just had me feeling confident and good in myself. And so years later, when I got pregnant, I can still remember thinking everyone I saw online had this view of pregnancy and motherhood as once you have that baby, you're not going to get your body back. Just
Mm-hmm.
accept it. It is what it is. And I can remember I literally did a boudoir shoot for my husband before I got pregnant for that purpose. And I remember thinking during that shoot, you're never going to look like this again. And so after I had my daughter, I was in that acceptance phase, but at the same time, just like not feeling super confident. And I didn't love the way that I looked in pictures and all of those things. And I think I was blessed that year, right before she turned a year old, COVID struck. And so
Mm.
now we were stuck inside with so much more time on our hands. And my husband had been pushing me to lift weights, drink protein, and do all these things for honestly years. He'd been saying, you should try lifting weights. And I'd always be like, no, you're crazy. I don't want to look bulky. Stop pushing me to do these things. And so I ignored him for the longest time. And when COVID rolled around, I was like, you know what? I'm not going out in public. What do I have to lose? I'll try it. And it was mind blowing the difference I saw and felt in such a short period of time. Just
Right.
lifting a few light weights and doing 20, maybe 30 minutes with him a couple times a week. I was like, we're going to take this slow. I'm not doing a ton. And I felt such a difference. And so from then on, I was hooked and I did what he helped me figure out for a while. And then I went exploring into, I love that you're supporting me, but also you don't know the women's body. And there were some limitations that I could feel like we were hitting together. And so that's what caused me to go down my own rabbit hole of looking into women's health and how to lift for women and all of those kinds of things. I was in a great groove and I loved it. I was honestly in the best shape of my life. My body had never looked like this before. And I could not believe how confident I felt, how amazing I felt. And even more mind blowing was that, again, I wasn't doing it by starving myself like I tried back in college.
You
I
actually
was
felt
killing
like
my body.
energetic and not
Yeah.
like fatigued. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just coming to these realizations like, oh my gosh, I actually work out less. I actually eat more. I'm in the best shape of my life. I look the best that I have ever looked in my life. And so all of those realizations dawning on me was like a really cool and exciting thing. And so from there, I really wanted to spread it to everyone. And I taught fitness classes on the side at the time as well. And it had gotten shut down and it was primarily a cardio fitness class. And I loved it so much. But gosh, adding the weightlifting to it just skyrocketed my progress.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But I just loved that atmosphere of coaching other women and training other women and being around that environment. It just lit me up so much. And so then flash forward another couple of years and I had my son and I was teaching too. I was a middle school teacher and I was like in a groove. I had him in April, took the rest of the year off, took the summer with him, got myself back and I know what I need to do, plugged away, got back in great shape, headed into the school year, and I very naively thought I'd be able to continue on with that. And I was drowning like a month into the school year. I can remember being at the lowest mental health state I had ever been in my life. I was really scared. I wasn't the mom that I wanted to be to my kids. My patience was so short. My energy was so low. I was miserable and I was truly in survival mode because all of those things that I was doing for me, working out, feeling my body in a way that felt good, all of those things had fallen off because now it was juggling work and home and kids and husband.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And I can still remember the moment because my husband's very supportive, but he's like, you have to be the one to figure this out. And I think that this was like that moment that it clicked for me and the moment that I want to help share with so many other women is no one is coming to save you. You have to be the one to make the decision yourself. And I can remember the moment. I can actually remember where I was standing, what time of day it was. Like I can see the vision perfectly where I decided, no, enough is enough. Something has to change. This is what I'm going to do. And I made a plan to start waking up early, work out, move my body, start making a plan on the weekends because I was still like going to the grocery store like 3 or 4 times a week. I didn't have time for that. Or
Yeah.
we'd order takeout or something. And all of it just made me feel worse and worse. So I was like, nope, we're making changes right now because this cannot carry on this way. We just can't. And I say that decision was so still vividly a part of me because there's so much research around the fact that when you make a really emotion-based decision like that, those are the ones that stay locked in with you, and those are usually the ones that drive long-lasting change. So when you are trying to make a decision, the more emotion that you can put behind it, the better, because then it's going to stick. And so I was able to keep these promises to myself, start small, build on it. And that's really what inspired me to 2 years down that line, leave teaching, get certified in personal training, get certified in nutrition, and take all of my life experiences and create a course around them where I work with women primarily one-on-one because everybody's life is totally different. And that, again, is what I just learned through just starting off small, working with other women. And I actually started off large scale and tried to work with a lot of women at once and just give like a plan that I thought would work. And I very quickly realized like that's not what people need. People need very personalized attention that meets them where they're at because everyone is living a completely different lifestyle with different habits and routines and likes and dislikes. And I just am so passionate about meeting people where they're at and guiding them from there so that they know exactly where to start now, what habits are going to make the biggest difference in their life now that feel the most doable, and then help them along the way to build on that so that they have that lifestyle that feels really good.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I think the most common thing is everybody wants to live healthier, right? Everybody wants to eat better. And sometimes it's for the wrong reasons. They want the beach body, they want whatever. But I think any shifts that we make or any patterns that we're breaking to go from awareness to alignment. And that's that back and forth, right? Where I did it and then I had my kids and then I was playing the mother, the wife, all these roles and I fell back into my old habits. And so I think that's the hardest transition. And not only just transitioning, but it's making it stick. For me, my health journey was just like that. It took me almost a decade for it to stick. And it took losing my mom. I lost my mom to cancer. Maybe I should be more mindful of what I put in my mouth. And maybe that will help my kids even be healthier and live longer. But the reality is, I would do it for 2 months. I'd do exercise and then I'd fall back into habit. I'd lose weight. I'd start feeling good. And then I'd fall back to my old habits. So it's this teeter tottering back and forth of sticking to it, not sticking to it. And I think those failures tie into making it stick. It's every time we fail, it's okay. Maybe we're going to go longer than 2 months this time. Maybe we're going to go 3 months. And then maybe instead of falling back for a few months, we fall back for a few weeks. It's just part of the journey, right? And I think a lot of people don't have the missing piece is self-compassion because we're all different. Like you said, we're individuals. We have different roles. We're moms. Some of us have careers. Some of us are single moms. Some of us don't even have partnership. And so depending on everybody's lifestyle, regardless, you have to have compassion because at the end of the day, it's reprogramming what you were conditioned to do, whether it was food or whether it's whatever cycle you're trying to break. It's really rebuilding from the inside out. Why do you believe awareness is such an important starting point when it comes to building a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, and it's funny because I think that my perspective on this has actually shifted a little bit just in the last week. I still truly believe awareness is important when you can be aware of your patterns and things that have been setting you up for failure. When you can be super aware of your own personal patterns, I think that's how you can begin to break them. Even for myself, when I can say, oh gosh, I really noticed that when winter starts to hit, I want to genuinely hibernate. I want to only eat heavy foods. And so, like, when I can recognize that pattern, I can maybe the next season start to really prep for it and say, you know what? When winter comes along, like, I really struggle with getting some steps in with eating fresh foods. And so, as time has gone on, I've caught that pattern. And because of making certain choices, I always come out of winter not feeling my best. And this was in the past. And so now it's like, how can I prep for that and break this pattern? You know what? I'm going to invest in a walking pad so I can keep moving my body and getting some steps in the dead of winter. I know you're in Hawaii. I'm in Ohio. You probably don't struggle with that like we do. But in my state, it's crucial that I have something in my home inside that I can go do. And again, not wanting as many fresh fruits, some fresh fruit, like fresh Whole Foods, not as available, just the quality is not as good. So again, just like prepping that and building a repertoire of maybe this is like a totally different season, but maybe we're not doing salads like we do all summer long. Now we can move into squashes and some of those kinds of fresh vegetables that are in season. And so it's that kind of pattern catching and prepping for so that you can break that pattern. That's really important. And some other really common patterns too, again, are just simply the mindset. I think once women start really recognizing and being aware of how we talk to ourselves, that can be such an eye opener. so many of my clients, because honestly, 80% of my program and what I do with my clients is centered around mindset. And one of the very first things that we do is start being super aware of our thought patterns. And almost all of my clients will come back to me after week 1, week 2 and say, wow, I truly never realized how negative I am when I'm talking to myself, or how much I truly beat myself up. Like, I do not give myself enough grace. And so, catching those patterns, because our mind is going to believe what we tell it. And I think it's so important to start to question, like, is what you're telling yourself true?
Mhm.
Fact, because most of the time it honestly probably is not factual at all, but we start to believe it, especially when those thoughts aren't just there, but they're repetitive all day long. And so you start to embody that, you start to believe it. And that's where the identity is formed. And so, again, bringing it back to that awareness, becoming aware of even the words that you speak. Sometimes I don't think we even catch what we say out loud to others. We can even say to people, like, I'm not really a gym person. I'm not really a workout person. I just don't really eat healthy. That right there is you building your identity around these
Mhm.
things. And it doesn't have to be factual. If you want
Yes,
to be a healthy person, if you
it's
want to
true.
be somebody who enjoys working out, speak those things, be that until you believe it.
Yeah, I think words are super powerful. And you know what I've been practicing lately, because I'm pretty healthy, but my kids, like, let's be real, we all have different genetics after pregnancy. My kids, like, really stretch my stomach out. And I've accepted that no matter how healthy I eat, no matter how much workout I do, there's just going to be loose skin there. And you know what? I call it my fupa, and I named it and everything. And I every morning I wake up, I have this ritual where I go in the mirror and I hold it, because that's our womb, especially as women, right? That's like our most sacred spot. It holds all of our feminine energy. And I have a ritual where I just grab it and I just rub it and I just say how much I love it and I appreciate it for being my everything, right? And it's made such a difference, because normally I'd be like, oh, it's so ugly, or I'd criticize myself or judge myself how I looked in outfits or compare myself to other women. And now it's just after doing that for so long and just being grateful and expressing gratitude towards it, it's like I have a whole different relationship with it. So I think words are powerful. I think how we look at our body is super powerful. And like you said, speak it until you become it, basically. It's
Yeah.
manifestation. And maybe the gym's not for everybody, and it's not. There's different ways, right? There's cardio, there's dancing, there's yoga, there's so many other ways that I think people don't understand. And when it comes to fitness and people's fitness journey, with all the influencers that there is on social media, I think it makes people think that's the only way, is her way or his way. And at the end of the day, it's meet yourself where you're at, not where they're at or where you're trying to be. So I heard you say earlier is mind shift is crucial, right? I've had a couple trainers and they lack that part. And that's like the most powerful part, because if you don't have it right in your mind, if you don't look at fitness or nutrition a certain way, if you don't have it in your mindset, it's not going to stick. Typically, it's not.
Yeah.
It's more of a temporary fix.
And I always say too, it's not even just how you view it, which is a huge part of it as well. But for me, it's how you view yourself amongst it. Because somebody can give you the best plan, nutrition plan, fitness plan that is specifically tailored, designed to your body. You've got blood work, you've got all the things, and they write you up this like amazing plan. But if you don't have the mindset, the belief in yourself that you can follow through with it won't work,
Yeah,
because
that's
that's what
true.
it really comes down to is you have to have a belief in yourself, in your ability to do it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that women are lacking today is that belief and that trust in themselves that they are capable of sticking with something and being consistent. Because I believe diet culture, the way that we grew up thinking that you have to do hours and hours of cardio in order to get results. And if you can't do it, it's not even worth it. And I think all of that has programmed such an all or nothing belief in us
Mhm.
as well that needs to be broken too, where it's no, you don't have to go do hours. Actually, you can only do a 10-minute walk. That's still much better than doing nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. All
And so
about
when
body
you can
movement.
start to believe, hey, I'm actually very capable. I can do something, right? Then we start to give our brain evidence again of how truly capable we are. And I actually saw somebody, social media can be a blessing and a curse because
Mhm.
there's some really amazing, inspiring content out there. And then there is some stuff that makes you question your entire existence. But
Yeah, it
I
does. I went down that road before and it was not good.
Oh, it can be bad. And as a side note, I don't want to get on another tangent, but one of the things I coach is truly take a look at what you are filling your brain with on a daily basis. What's your feed filled with? What podcasts are you listening to? What shows are you watching? What music are you listening to? Genuinely, all of that makes a difference for how your energy and how you show up in the world. But I saw this reel that was like women truly go and carry and grow and birth and keep alive an entire human, and
Mhm.
we will still step back and feel like we're not enough. And
Yeah.
how is that possible when you genuinely look at everything that we do and then we still can be like, "Ah, but I can't work out for 20 minutes a day." But yes, we can. Like when you
Yeah.
find that thing that works for you and the thing that you love and feels good, makes you feel good, like we are absolutely so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that with the mindset. It's all about believing. And I'm the same way when I work with people on coaching them. I'm selective in terms of first, you have to surrender. You have to surrender to it. Even on the field of energy healing, you have to surrender. Second thing is believe, right? You have to surrender and believe. And without those two, as coaches, we can coach them all day. But if it's internally and their mindset and perspective is not on that, then it's not going to work at the end of the
Right.
day. That's a huge
Mhm.
one for sure. I know we touched a lot on your story about how you got into health and fitness. Is there anything you want to add to that before we move forward?
I know we've reflected on before is what's an important part of awareness. And I think a really good question to ask yourself if you are someone who is maybe really wanting weight loss or really wanting to get healthy or whatever. And I don't think that weight loss is necessarily a bad thing. I think that it can be like, I know that I need to drop weight to feel healthier. One question that I would really encourage you to ask yourself would be, are your actions proactive or reactive? Are you
Mm,
trying to go work out and eat healthy and all of these things because, oh, shoot, I got bad news from the doctor, or oh my gosh, I really need to lose weight, or whatever? Or are you trying to be proactive in your health and saying, like you did, I don't want to be at risk for having cancer. I want to take control of everything that I can right now and be really proactive and make sure I'm putting good things in my body and move my body and all of those things. When it does come to having a level of awareness, I think
mhm.
that right there is number one question you should ask yourself.
Yeah, that's great because, like we said earlier, it's like some people want to be healthy or want to have fitness and nutrition in your life, but is it for the right reason? It's not only just to get in them size 4, 6 jeans or wear that
Yeah.
bikini for the summer.
And again, like I can't hate on people that I have goals that are aligned with that too sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
It does feel good to feel really confident in a
Mhm.
two-piece bikini. I'm not gonna lie, but I think because I came from a place of needing to make healthy choices for my mental health first
Mhm.
and to show up as a better mom and to have more energy and to all of those things. I think because it came from that place and that is still my primary driver, that all of the other things that fell into place and like wanting to feel confident and knowing it's really nice to feel confident in a two piece, but knowing also that those things come and stick
Mhm.
around because I'm worried about my health first as a whole.
Priorities, yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, too, it's whatever gets you there. If you start off just truly just wanting to lose weight, when you do it the right way, and this is where I feel like right way, wrong way, I don't know if there's necessarily, in my opinion, a right reason versus a wrong reason. I do believe that there's a right way, a wrong way. And if your reason is weight loss and you do it in the way that is shortcuts and taking quick fixes, taking the easy way out, that's not going to build the sustainable lifestyle that lets you feel good inside and out. So
Right.
that's where I feel like there's a wrong way, because even if weight loss was your primary driver and you decide to do it the right way and take control of your eating, start moving your body, get better sleep, get sunlight, all of those things, manage your stress, even if your primary driver was weight loss, in doing all of these things, you're very quickly going to start to realize, I feel so much better. Like, weight loss becomes secondary so fast when you do it the right way.
And not only having the right reason, but for me, I had a relationship with food and it was more like emotional eating. And what I didn't realize is as I was in survival mode and due to my childhood trauma and my upbringing, I turned to food a lot because the moment I put something good in my mouth, all the worries would go away. It's like how people use
Yeah.
alcohol and drugs to suppress it. Like I would use food on top
Mhm.
of everything else. But food was like my number one source because I was like, ooh, it was so good. It was never going to disappoint me if I had what I like to eat. And it was something that took my worries away. So I would eat a lot of times when I wasn't even hungry because
Mhm.
it was just for that satisfaction. It was to let go of all the stressors and the worries in my head.
Yeah.
And that was a cycle that I had to break in order to instill the healthy lifestyle. And that was something I didn't even notice until I started doing it. Like, why do I eat? And when I started weighing my food and even doing portion controls, why would I eat such a big serving when my stomach's already full? And learning even just to say no or not having to waste food because that's how I was, that's my upbringing. Like, we don't waste food.
Yeah.
As a child, we didn't have food sometimes. Like, I didn't have dinner, I didn't have meals throughout the day sometimes. And so, wasting food, it was like, no, I'm just going to eat it. I'm just going to eat
Mhm.
it so I don't waste it. So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, well, you don't have to waste it. You can save it for later, but it doesn't mean you have to eat it right now.
You're
Getting
taking
down to the root is a big
yeah.
thing because I think a lot of people suffer from emotional eating.
Yeah. 100%. I try to break these things up into bite-sized pieces so we can take them and really reflect on them. And what you're saying too, just about portion control and the mindset strategies that I try to offer people for even when you do want to go and enjoy something, whether it's like a nice slice of cake or whatever,
Mhm.
when we get down to it, we want that experience of eating it, right? So, what's the difference between eating it slowly with small bites and really taking our time and eating it for 10 minutes that way
Mhm.
versus slamming a whole piece really quickly with big bites in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
You're still getting a 10-minute long experience where you can enjoy that. So, why would we not do our bodies a favor and slow down and really enjoy it and have a smaller piece? You know what I mean? So, that in itself is just an example of what we do in my program too, and things that you were able to figure out yourself, because it is so conditioned based off of how you grew up, and things that we didn't even realize were getting ingrained in us got ingrained.
No, it's so true. And I think there's moments I wouldn't even chew my food. I would just swallow it
Mm,
because it was just like I would just devour it. And
yeah.
even being mindful, I did some workshop about mindful eating and how there's meditations when you're eating, even drinking water.
Yeah.
You say things like, this is bringing nourishment to my body. And you really take the time with it to actually enjoy the taste and savor the taste. And it's like how we eat our food actually goes in hand with how it's digested in our body. So it's a powerful thing. I forgot the
Mhm.
workshop, but it was like mind blowing. And I was like, oh, maybe I should
Mhm.
start chewing my food and I wouldn't have so many digestive issues.
Yeah,
But
right.
in time of survival, those are the things, the patterns that we develop that we got to break.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads to our next question. And we talked about, I think a lot of this is just flowing, but how does living in survival mode impact our ability to prioritize health? Is there anything else you want
Yeah.
to touch on that?
I think as moms, it's so easy to fall into survival mode simply because like we come last
Hmm.
when there are all these people that like genuinely truly need us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not just that, I think that the way that society is set up is now you see the highlight reels on Instagram. And so not only are we just taking care of our families, it's all, but if I'm not doing it this way, I'm doing it wrong or I'm not doing it good enough based off of what we see on social media and things like that. And so I think that survival mode has just truly reached a whole nother level because, gosh, where do you find the time to do it all, right? And so when we can take a step back and say, okay, you know what? I don't have to have it all together all the time. Like there it's a give and take, but also realizing that when you are functioning in a state of survival mode and not taking care of yourself, how can we expect to take care of others when we can't even take care of ourselves? How could we expect our kids to understand how to take care of themselves when we're not taking care of ourselves? And I think that self care has taken on a whole different meaning than what it should have because it seems like self care has evolved into go do some self care, go have a self care day, get a manicure, get a pedicure, get a massage. And that's all great. Those things are awesome. But those are not going to get to the root of your pain. They're going to make you feel better in the moment. But the second you step back into your chaotic home, your nervous system is going to be on fire again, right?
Yeah, that's
Self
true.
care is setting your nervous system up to handle the chaos. And the only way that you can do that is by taking care of yourself. And whether that be moving your body and nourishing your body and setting aside time to calm your nervous system, whether it's through meditation or just sitting in silence or whatever. But without those things, that survival mode is basically just your nervous system's always on fire.
Yeah, that's true.
And
And
you're always,
honest, that's how my shift out of survival mode was. Self-care is more than just spa days and all that, which I did have a lot of those. But I think it's really sitting in stillness, like you said, having a relationship with yourself. And that also means nourishing your body through nutrition, through movement, through stillness. And to me, that is the most sacred self-care you can give yourself, no matter where we're at. And the clients that I work with is like, how would I have time? I barely have time to work and cook and do all this. And it's,
yeah,
if you have 10 minutes to scroll your phone, if you have so many minutes to just, you wake up in the morning, you grab your phone, you go on social media, there's definitely time. I think people in survival mode come from urgency and they think there's no time. There's plenty of
yes.
time,
And
right?
that's been the biggest piece of feedback from all of my clients where they say, you know what? I found that I was scrolling way
Mm-hmm.
more than I thought I was. And it hasn't been so hard to integrate all these things because I'm just taking up my scroll time, and that scroll time wasn't doing anything for me in the first place. And one other piece I wanted to add to that survival mode too is when we're in survival mode, it's just that you're just surviving. You're
Mm-hmm.
not enjoying, you're not thriving. And when it comes down to it, and you're really reflecting, like, why did you become a mom? Why were we put on this earth?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it was just to survive. And when I envisioned myself as a mom before I got pregnant for the first time, I envisioned myself thriving with my children, running around with them, playing games with them on the floor, being happy and feeling joy. And when you're in survival mode, those moments are few and far between. Doesn't feel great. You don't have energy, you don't have patience. Like, why that's not normal. Here, I'll rephrase that. It is normal because I think society's made it normal. It
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be.
Right.
Like,
That's what society conditioned us to believe, right? That's
yes.
what maybe
Yeah.
our parents' generation, that's what we saw growing up.
Mhm.
I definitely did. My parents weren't present, and it's not to blame or shame them. It's literally
Right.
because they were in survival mode and they didn't have the resources I have today. They didn't have
Mhm.
the support I even have, and to just even make that mind shift. So I think sometimes that's the reality of it. And
Yeah.
even having my first child, I had her straight out of high school. And I compare a lot because I have her and then I have a 6-year old. So they're like 12 years apart. The version of me who my oldest daughter had is never going to be the version that my youngest daughter has. And it's, I look at it and I reflect because it's like when I had my oldest, I wasn't into this healthy lifestyle. We ate bad foods. We were on a budget. My mind was definitely not there. And now with my 6-year-old, there's food that she'll never even taste just
Mhm.
because we are healthy now, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make that shift with my oldest because it's, Mom, I like this, I like that. Go buy it with your own money then. So that's how I have to put it back on her because now she's grown. But
Yeah.
it's as we grow, there's different versions of us that show up, and it's, yeah,
100%. And
it's a
I think
beautiful
what you
thing.
said there honestly is so key because his I like to say now, as much as we like to follow the do as I say, not as I do
Mm-hmm.
mantra with our kids, that's just not fact. And like you said, you grew up watching your parents in survival mode, and that's how you entered into motherhood yourself,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that's how it had to be, and you had to fight your way out of that. And so now we have an opportunity as a really becoming aware generation to say, wow, you know what? Our kids are just adapting our lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they change or not, it's going to be up to them. But they're going to start off with just this is what they know. And so if they know their mom to be, this is how I parent,
Yep.
this is what motherhood looks like, it's like we're in survival mode all the time, they're going to enter into their own parenthood thinking that this is just how it has to be. And it just truly doesn't. And so I think that's why, yes, get out of survival mode for you, but get out of survival mode for your kids so that
Yeah,
they
and your kids.
know.
It'll just keep
Right.
going.
Exactly.
That's how life is. The cycle breaker, that's what I tell everyone as the cycle breaker. It's not for everyone. It's a role that it takes a lot of reflecting. It takes a lot of
Yeah.
work, and it's messy. It's
Yeah.
not something that is easy. And it's not something you get to a point and you're like, okay, I'm done. Did it. No,
100%. Yeah.
I'm breaking cycles every day, even as a coach. Even though I've already broke so many generational cycles, it's like an ongoing continual work in progress. We all are.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mindset that people need to have as well.
Hey there, sis. If you've been noticing the same emotional patterns repeating, feeling disconnected from yourself, or sensing that something within you is ready to rise, I want to invite you into something intentional. I've created a 3-day guided experience called Awaken Your Highest Self. This isn't a live workshop, it's a self paced container designed to support real transformation. You'll receive instant access to day one, and then day 2 and day 3 will unlock each day. So you can actually integrate what you're learning and not just consume it. Each day includes guided teachings and worksheets to help you build awareness of the cycles holding you back, regulate your energy, and step into deeper alignment with who you're becoming. This isn't about fixing yourself, it's about remembering who you are. You can begin anytime at aliciacherie.com/workshop.
So let's touch more on alignment. So obviously, alignment is hard. It's like when you're in alignment, people go back and forth, they don't really stay there. So we talked about mindset and how it's an important component of creating a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. Is there anything you want to add there? Because I know we talked about talking it into existence and this mindset shift on why you're doing it.
Yeah, and I think that what's really important is what you said too, in terms of alignment and recognizing we're never going to reach a point where it's check done. We're always going to be in a phase of growth. We're always going to be thrown curveballs by life where we can be on a great trajectory and then something happens that kind of throws you in a tailspin for a little
Mhm.
bit. And maybe you will find yourself back in survival mode for a period of time. I know even as a coach, I had a baby 9 months ago, and for months, gosh, it was like 4 through 7, I was in survival mode. I was, again, just trying to claw my way back out of this hormonal rage that I was in. I think recognizing like that doesn't make you a failure, it makes you
Mhm.
human. And we're always going to be growing and evolving. But one thing I always encourage my clients to do is really pause and take a look at where you might have been a year ago, in your last pregnancy, in your last whatever, because we are so quick to beat ourselves up and say, I'm not where I should be,
Mm.
I'm not where I thought I'd be, I'm not whatever. And I'll always say, hold on a second, because you've been in this program for 3 months, and one, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of life, 3 months is such a small little blip. and look at how much progress you've made. Number two, you just got thrown a curveball in life. Maybe their kids got sick and their week felt totally thrown off and they didn't get to all their workouts and they didn't get to plan all their meals. I want you to pause for a second, because if this were to happen to you 6 months ago, what would have happened? And they'd be like, oh gosh, I would have been a disaster. But at least now I was able to, like, I moved a little bit. Actually, not all my meals were that bad. And so when you can sit back and truly celebrate the fact that you are making little steps towards bettering yourself all the time, it might not be this grand vision of what you think you see for yourself, or maybe yours doesn't match what you on Instagram, but when you can flush all that out and say, oh my gosh, but am I better than I was yesterday? Yeah. Then
Progress. Yeah.
that's progress. And that's how we really start to evolve and see how capable we are and give ourselves some grace and understand that it is there, it's coming, and we're always just growing into new versions of ourselves.
And not only that, I think it's important for the listeners to understand, because most of my followers are women. Because when I went into my fitness journey, I was like, okay, I got to go to the gym 5 times a week. I got to eat healthy. This 80-20 rule I had. And let's be real, when we PMS, that's not realistic. I did another workshop. It was basically how to regulate your cycle, how to sync in your cycle. And I didn't realize a week before your cycle really plays out how the week of your cycle is going to play out. And it has to do with how you feel your body, how you move. The week of our cycle is resting. That's the crucial thing is rest. And I think my fitness journey, at one point I was training to be in the bikini competition here in Hawaii. And I was like, now I can't rest. When I'm on my cycle now, I'm mindful. Mine's pretty sync every month. I know when it starts. So the week before, I try to eat very healthy. And then it really plays into how I get cramps or period pains, because I used to be on birth control and that would suppress all that, right? But now I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go do some rigorous workout routine. I'm going to need to rest. I'm not going to go boxing. I'm not going to go do HIIT. Maybe I'm going to do yoga, and maybe I'm going to do some light weightlifting where it's not so overload to my body. But I think that's the pressure too on a lot of ladies is we're not like men, like you said earlier, to really study the body of a woman, because men can have the same workout routine all month long. Us, it's really not successful. It's like we have to manage that. And after having babies, like you said, hormones. And then we have, as we get older, we're going to go into menopause. And realistically, we have a lot of odds against us. Doesn't mean we can't overcome them, but those are things we got to consider as women.
I think that too, there is a really delicate balance between using those things as excuses, learning how to listen to your body and giving your body what it needs. Because one of the things that I 100% believe in is, yes, go move it. Like, any exercise is better than no exercise, hands down, every single day. I believe that strength training is what our bodies are craving as women, as men, for muscle health that is going to support your metabolism, even when you're in perimenopause, in menopause. Like, everyone thinks that your metabolism is going downhill because of age, when genuinely it's because we're losing muscle mass, and muscle mass is what supports our metabolisms the most. And so if you're allowing your muscle mass to decline, then it's going to feel like your metabolism is out of whack, when genuinely, if we would just focus on maintaining our muscle mass, we would see our metabolism starting to cooperate a little bit better as well. And so in terms of working with your cycle and things like that too, it's not like we should take an entire week off every single month.
No, yeah, no.
That's going to be really hard for you to maintain muscle mass, to hit like strength goals, things like that. However, like you said too, it's going to ebb and flow. And so there are times in your cycle in the month where you're not going to want to or should push yourself as hard or be reaching PRs with your weightlifting and things like that. But that's, I think, also where the awareness of where you're at in your cycle and paying attention and understanding how to fuel your body and how to move your body, all those things are so important. But then also listening to your body and being like, gosh, the first day of what my cycle should be, but I feel so good. I feel so strong. I'm just going to go for it. And then go for it. See how you feel. Does it feel good? Cool. Keep going. Did it feel awful? Then stop. So
Yeah,
just
definitely listen. Yeah,
be
listen.
in tune in that way too.
That's the biggest thing. Our body's always talking to us, and that's one thing that I preach in my coaching. It starts with warning signs, and then it goes to alerts, and then it just goes to threats.
Yeah.
And that's why I think stillness and having that moment and that relationship with yourself really increases your inner voice and being able to recognize those signs and those signals from your body. So it all goes hand in hand. Let's go ahead and start going into like integration. What is one step someone could take today to begin shifting their relationship with health?
If you are at the start of your health journey and thinking, okay, I know I need to take control over this health, or maybe you're listening to this episode or even previous episodes of Break the Cycles and thinking, okay, I really need to start doing something. My advice is always just start as small as you possibly can and start integrating something that you know you can stick with. And I think sometimes people automatically assume that it's just going to come naturally and effortlessly. And even though you're picking something that you know you can do, it's still going to require a conscious effort on your part and being intentional to work these things into your day, right? Because anything that's not already in your norm is going to require a little bit of effort and intention. I always just like to preface that just because you're starting small, I don't want you in the mindset that it's going to be effortless, right? Or it should just come,
definitely work.
because I think sometimes people start with that mindset and then want to beat themselves up when it's not. And that's not the case, right? And so when we are starting small, pick things that you can be really intentional with. So maybe it's just going outside every day for a 5-minute walk, just like walking for 5 minutes. Maybe it's waking up and starting your morning with a glass of water. Again, things that you know are going to better your health, are going to make you feel good, but they're so small and so doable that when you do start doing them for a consistent period of time, you can really genuinely start to celebrate yourself. And I think that this is a really important part of the process, is give your brain that evidence and remind yourself how capable you are, because you can do so much more. We've done it. So many times we go into this all or nothing and think we need to jump into the diet and jump into the workouts and jump into everything. And that's not sustainable because your body's really not used to that. So if we can make it used to these small little tiny habits over a period of time and just continue to build on, that's how we get things to stick long term.
I agree. I'm all about meeting yourself where you're at. It's huge.
Yeah.
All right.
100%.
So, in closing, is there anything that you have coming up? Anything that the listeners can tune in? How they can find you?
Yeah.
What offers you have that might help them if they need any kind of nutrition or fitness help?
So I right now primarily work with women one-on-one. So we can really meet you exactly where you're at and grow with you over a period of time. So if you're interested in that one-on-one coaching, you can go to my website, AllisonHaleyFitness.com, and you can apply for one-on-one coaching. I also have my own podcast called Realistically Consistent, where I try to share tips on all of these things broken down every single week. And then I'm also actually getting ready to get started with membership. It is still in like a trial phase, but it's a place for women to come and get accountability and support, not an overload of information, but tiny little tidbits of information that are dropped in a way that feel digestible and actionable. So if you are in this like starting phase of your health journey, or honestly, even in a good groove with your health journey, but you're just thinking, I know I need to add in some of these more things. I just need accountability with it, because I'm going to be honest, I've been doing this for a long time. And I myself still have things where it's like, gosh, sometimes I fall off waking up at a certain time or going to bed at a certain time or journaling or this or that. There's always more that we could integrate into our routine. This is for everyone in whatever stage of their own health journey that they're in for a membership. So I would say follow me on Instagram at Allison Haley Fitness, Facebook, Allison Haley. You can join my email list by clicking on that form as well. I have also got a few other tabs and free resources. You can go in there and find a free resource, and that will also get you on my email list for the announcement for when this membership is open to the public.
Awesome. And to all the listeners, her information will be in the show notes for this episode. Allison, thank you so much for today. Thank you for saying yes and being a guest here on Break the Cycles. I think nutrition and fitness is definitely crucial in nourishing the body and regulating the nervous system. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
Thank you again so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, everybody, continue to build awareness, continue to break those cycles, and we'll catch you next time.
Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya.